Well, welcome back to yet another episode of RailPeople, the podcast from RailStuff. And of course, I always start with a shameless plug because it's good to get those sorts of things out of the way. And that is, of course, that for all of your scenics and accessory needs, head yourself over to rail-stuff.com. But the purpose of the RailPeople podcast is to have a chat with people that are involved in the world of model railways. And I'm particularly excited about this week's guest. Now, I know I say that every single time I start one of these, but I extra am today, if that's even a phrase, because this is a man that I think the majority of you will probably recognise, both if you saw him, but also by listening to him as well, because with 35,000 subscribers, very, very almost, on YouTube, you will know the face of Richard Watson, maybe better known to you guys as the man behind New Junction. Richard, thank you so much for giving up some time to talk to me today.
You're very welcome. I was going to say, I'm not sure who's more excited today, me or you.
Well, you haven't got a very exciting job. You've got to talk to Adam for an hour. But look, we've got loads to talk about. And I think that the timing of our chat is really handy because not only are you involved in New Junction, but also you are, and let's see if I get this title right, the associate editor at Hornby magazine.
That's it.
Yeah, so what is an associate editor?
So in effect, a glorified tea boy, as they would call it.
Everyone needs good tea, right? So, yeah. But when I say good timing, that is because this week it is finally Gets 2022. So for those of you who don't know what that is, it's the Great Electric Train Show down at Milton Keynes at the Marshall Arena, which is right next door to the MK Dons Stadium in Milton Keynes. So lovely and central in the country. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about New Junction a little bit. But of course, we have to start with the ultra critical question, which is, what is your favourite cheese?
Oh, you see, you asked this, and I think like Kathy Millett, your previous guest, I'm going to say I prefer chocolate to cheese.
I'm okay with that because I'm a big chocolate fan as well. So therefore, I think the question has to be, if you had to buy one bar of chocolate, what would it be?
Oh, it's got to be dairy milk.
Dairy milk,
every day of the week. Absolutely.
Very
classic.
Yeah, very true. I'm a big fan of the Cadbury's caramel as well. Just that hit of caramel to go with the dairy milk. Yeah, you can't beat it. But listen, we're two fine figures of gentlemen, so yeah, not surprising that we're huge chocolate fans. But look, let's talk about Milton Keynes first of all, because it's only a few days away. First of all, what's your involvement in the show?
So, in effect, they wheel me out to display all the Hornby magazine layouts that we build for the magazine and for Key Model World, the magazine's website, in effect. So around this podcast, we've been finishing up building the Great Central Railway themed layout. I'm actually putting in a viaduct this week, and hopefully it'll be dry in time. And then we sort of wheel it out, and then they give me a controller, and I have to share that with members of the public and play trains for a few days. It's great.
Very good. And where's this layout being built at the moment?
So it used to. The first incarnation of it was built in Mike Wilde, the editor's garage. Like us all, we're just hobbyists at home, and then it's being finished off at our office in Stamford.
Oh, great. And I always know when I'm getting a call from Hornby magazine when a Stamford number calls. That's normally, can you pay your bill, please, for advertising, Adam? But, yeah.
That's why I avoid them.
So you're going to be there with the layout, and this is the one that's been built in a series on YouTube with Hornby magazine with you and Mike. Is that right?
Yes, we're actually on our Hornby magazine stand. We're actually spoiling the guests of the Great Electric Train Show this year because we've got the Great Central themed layout. We've also got a 009 gauge layout we built called A Fairly Good Idea in English. and we've also got Pete Waterman's Making Tracks 2 on our stand, which dwarfs everything else massively, but it'll be quite the sort of fun zone, you see.
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm going to have to make sure that I can train my dad up enough to look after the stand for half an hour so I can pop down and have a good look for myself. He does a good job. He comes to help me at the big shows every year, and he does a great job, and I love having him there. But I think last year I left him on his own for 10 minutes, and I came back and he said, right, I sold some bags of well, it was green stuff. I said, right, okay, which ones so I can mark it off the stock? Oh, I don't know. It was green though. It's great for a scenics retailer. Thanks for that. But just getting back to Milton Keynes, give people a summary of the show. What's it like?
So in effect, it's a larger show. We'll have over 30 layouts, and I think we've got over 60 traders this year as well. So it's our biggest show ever. It's usually well attended, and what usually makes the Great Electric Train Show stand out is all of the layouts will have been featured in Hornby magazine. So you could argue the layouts are of a caliber to be able to be featured in our magazine, and then therefore to be invited down, and so you can hopefully some people have seen them before in the magazine and the various features and things. So hopefully it raises the bar for model railway exhibitions.
And you're quite heavily involved in then going and looking at these layouts and photographing them for the magazine and things like that. So I assume you've actually seen in person the majority of the layouts that are going to be there, or a large number of them anyway.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. They're all well known to us in that sense, and if I've been lucky enough to go and photograph and video a layout, I'll know it very well because I'll have had a controller with it for a day. And I get to pretend I'm working again for a living while playing with someone else's model railway.
Dare I ask, is there one in particular that you're really looking forward to seeing at the show?
I think in their own right, they're all really good, to be fair. Again, I'm looking forward to seeing Pete Waterman's Making Tracks 2, just because it's the last time we'll see it. So I got to spend a couple of days with it earlier in the summer in Chester Cathedral, and I was lucky enough to have a play, and then of course this will be the final chance to see it in this incarnation. So it's 64 foot, I think it is, of modern image mainline, so it's just nice to see full length trains racing along.
Yeah, isn't it just? No, I'm looking forward to seeing that in the flesh as well. I was hoping to get up to Chester over the summer, but I just never quite found the time to get up there, so it's great that it's getting another airing at Getz. And you've already answered what you're showing this year, but what else from the Hornby magazine world is going to be there? You mentioned the 009 layout as well.
Yeah, so it's it's called A Fairly Good Idea in Welsh. I won't try and pronounce it here, but that was another build layout we've done for the magazine as well. It's just an opportunity basically for us to show off the layouts, let people experience maybe another gauge, a new gauge for the first time. We let people have a go. They're welcome to take a controller and play with these trains and things. They'll all be sound fitted and whatnot. So for a lot of people, it's a new experience, and it's just a chance for people to maybe test the water on something that maybe they haven't done before.
Yeah,
and see if they like it.
Yeah, absolutely. And is there a good mixture of gauges at the show as well?
Oh yes, it's all the way from N gauge all the way to SN32, I think it is this year. So it's literally everything.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's going to be great. And I did see an email pop out the other day that was saying that they've actually extended the advanced ticket booking due to unprecedented demand. Are we expecting a bumper show?
Yes, I was just reading that. I believe it's going to be one of the busiest ones so far, which is good because it's already we've got more traders and more layouts than we've ever had before. So we're really packing the rafters this year. And of course, as you'll know, there's the balconies. It's got two balconies at the hall, and it gives you a great view of the exhibition. And this year, I've been told that Making Tracks 2 will be facing the balconies, so the scenic side will be facing the balconies, So you'll get a very different view this year because you'll be able to be 1 or 2 floors up, looking down on this massive layout in the centre of this exhibition.
Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah, I hope it's not too visible for me because otherwise I won't get any work done all weekend. But yeah, the balconies are super critical. Make sure you get up to the balcony. There are lifts as well as stairs. So, if you find it a little bit tougher to get up the stairs, and there's good lift access as well. You also, here's a top tip for you, you also tend to find that the toilets are a little bit quieter on the balcony levels as well. So that's another good reason to get yourself up to the balcony levels, and also that, and to come and see RailStuff as well, and come and get all your scenic and accessory bits. So when do you head to Milton Keynes? You've got a lot of work to do in terms of getting these layouts set up and up and running. Do you do that just on Friday, or are you going to be there earlier than that?
So in terms of the setup of the show, I actually get away quite lightly with the workload. I shouldn't say that too loud because Michael and Mark will probably change that. But for example, they have to go to Warrington Way to pick up Making Tracks 2, I believe, on Wednesday.
Wow.
So for them, the exhibition starts coming together from Wednesday. But I just rock up at Milton Keynes at 8 a.m. Friday morning, ready for marking out when they open the hall. And we hope that the floor plan fits, and then you hope there's enough plugs for everyone and things like that. It's all go.
Yeah, exactly. It will be good fun, and there is only one problem for those on the balcony, and that is trying to get all your stock up in the lift when there's all of you trying to share the lift. Is good fun, but great camaraderie as well. It has got a really nice feel to it, the show as well. It's for such a big show, it feels very friendly and community orientated.
We're very lucky, I think, because although I can be the potential face of it, Key Publishing does have an entire events team. So they sort of take care of everything. And the venue itself, they're very nice. They handle everything. There's no problems. So it's just a nice event, really. And you can just enjoy it, which is what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been lucky this year. I've managed to book a room in the adjoining hotel as well. So no travelling in and out of Milton Keynes every day for me this year, which is fantastic. Look, let's talk New Junction a little bit, because it's turned into a bit of a behemoth on YouTube, right? Was that ever the aim, or was it just more about showing what you do, and then it's just turned into what it has?
Funny enough, way back, I posted. I started the layout because I saw various channels on YouTube, but I never intended for it to be a YouTube railway, as it were. And it actually started. You take photos of your work and you share it with friends and on groups and forums and things. And I was surprised because I got that many comments back off a couple of photos. I thought it was easy just to do a quick run round with the camera on my phone and answer a couple of questions and tell people what's what. And that just exploded. And it's just gone from there, really. I've never really looked back, oddly.
Was there any particular moment that really kicked it off? I mean, I guess there was a big spike during lockdown and all that kind of stuff, but was there anything before that really kicked off the interest in it, or is it just sort of grown steadily all the way through?
In the early years, I remember sort of not really having a schedule and just sort of uploading a video as and when. And then I sort of made the decision to I suppose make videos a bit more timely, and I set myself the challenge of trying to do a video every week, or release a video every week, I should say. So I could film multiple one week and then just schedule them up. I remember one point I think I got nearly 2 months in terms of weekly videos ahead of myself.
Wow.
In the early days, but that just helps. I suppose the algorithm. Everyone talked about the algorithm, but YouTube loves that. And I remember doing that for probably best part of a year, and that caused a real sort of strength to the channel growth, really. And that's probably the best thing I've done to help the channel, as it were.
Do you feel any pressure to get content out there? Is it still fun for you, or is it turned into something a little bit more, right, I need to get something done here?
Sometimes it does. I mean, because I suppose you almost gain a certain loyalty, because I know a lot of my subscribers now, and you recognise names and things. When I've been sort of 3 or 4 months since the last video, you start to feel the inner pressure that you should really update people. But in the early days, I think you can get a bit carried away, especially chasing the algorithm, where the deadline becomes the most important thing, when really it's your hobby. And remember, it's a hobby on that one. But no, it's always been a hobby, particularly the video side of it. That's just an extension of my model railway hobby, really.
I think we've got to talk a little bit about where you're at with things right now, because this is version 2 you're on now, or has there been... So it's version 2, okay. Yeah, for those of you who are listening to this as a podcast, Richard was nodding when I said that.
Sorry.
So no, I didn't let you speak. I saw the nod and carried on. But this one's a little bit different because of the way that you're setting up to be able to do it in both exhibition mode and garage mode. Now, you've changed the track plans a little bit just recently, and every time you say, I'm changing the track plan for whatever reason, always a great reason, and always makes sense, I just sit there and think, is it still going to work in both modes? How complicated is that?
Oddly, surprisingly simple, because in effect, the layout is still just a medium tail chaser layout. So in effect, this is a mainline loop and a heritage line loop, and as long as certain points connect in either way, you get away with it, and you can change pretty much whatever. I suppose I should say the modular design and the exhibition mode did come about from lessons learnt with the original New Junction. Because I suppose, like everyone, you always want a bigger layout. And like we were saying earlier, particularly working with the likes of Pete Waterman, and I've seen Heaton Lodge as well. You spend enough time with these people and you want a bigger layout. And they thought there's got to be a way to turn a sort of medium-sized model railway longer, so that my full HST set or full Class 91 set can be displayed in all its glory and not look silly. And that's where that came about, really. It's sort of cheating, but yeah, hopefully it'll work. Touch wood.
And do you have any plans to exhibit it then?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It'll go on the circuit if it's good enough, I should add. So it's got to work. But no, so that's why it's modular, and hopefully it'll be something worth seeing.
And of course, you got heritage and mainline. Mainline, correct me if I'm wrong, based on a kind of East Coast theme.
Yes.
And then you got the heritage as well. Is it a combination of the two, just because you couldn't decide whether to do modern or steam?
It's funny actually, because I've always liked sort of your mainline modern image railways, and my sort of early experience of the trains was travelling up and down the East Coast mainline when I was younger. As I've got older, I've really learnt to appreciate the work that goes into heritage railways, and how these various volunteers and staff sort of give up their lives to quite literally keep our history alive. And I just really like to replicate that in some way. So it's quite nice to see the mix of new and old in a model railway form, and it gives me more excuses to pretty much run what I want. Without upsetting people.
And what stage are you up to now?
So we have laid all the track, and we are hopefully just starting to do the scenery and build up the land formation. It looks odd currently because it's 2 levels of MDF track bed So in effect, it's 3 levels because you've got the baseboard level, then the first level sort of 10 centimetres up, which is the heritage line, and then another 10 centimetres up is the main line going round. So it looks odd without the landform, but hopefully we'll make it stand out soon.
And as you know, I have a passion for scenics. That's why RailStuff is so focused around that. But in terms of building up those layers now and building up the landforms, how are you doing that? What's your sort of chosen method for that?
I think I'll probably side with the main structure will be foam board, and then sculpted with a sort of hot iron rod or something to sculpt it out to make it fit, and then I'll probably cover that in sculptor mold or plaster or something like that to really make the whole thing flow nicely.
Yeah. I mean, how long have you been doing railway modelling? There's a reason why I'm asking that question at this juncture.
I suppose you could say on and off all my life. However, seriously, was when I started New Junction. So that's got to be 7-8 years ago now.
Yeah, and how much have you sort of found that the tools at our disposal as railway modellers when it comes to probably scenics more than anything has changed over those years?
I think that the methods relatively have stayed, while they've stayed the same, in my opinion. I think the talent and the ideas people have had to sort of make simple things work has massively evolved. I mean, I suppose you could look at an older layout now and tell it's an older layout without being told it's one, if you like, just because the methods have changed. However, the way of doing it is very simple still, such as layering up static grass or that kind of thing. It's just very different to just having a single layer of static grass. Yeah,
exactly. Or even just a landscape mat or something like that. Nothing wrong with using a landscape mat, but the levels of detail that you can go to now in terms of scenics is fantastic. And do you think that that YouTube or similar outlets have really helped grow that, or do you think the magazines do a good enough job at showing off the how-tos and things? It's because it seems to have come a long way very, very quickly in terms of detail.
I think, especially if you're a visual learner, you've got so much content out there. So if you want to pick up a new method, whether it be carpentry or electrics or scenery, you can go out now and find 2 hours worth of video, or I don't know, 2 handfuls worth of features to read, step-by-step guides, that kind of thing. And you can be reading about your subject of choice instantly these days, which is great, especially for a new hobbyist.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting. You mentioned about the carpentry side of things, and you did a video not so long ago that was quite detailed in some of the carpentry work you were doing, and then just this weekend I saw Chadwick's new video where he's playing with lots of power tools and things. I get just as much from watching those videos as I do anything else, really.
Well, that's a good thing. I think a lot of it can be down to personality on screen. Not speaking of myself, obviously speaking about Charlie, he's a great bloke. Yeah. And I suppose it becomes, especially with the last few years we've had, a lot of people have not seen as many people as maybe they once would have. So you get to know the sort of online persona a bit more, I think, in the last few years. And it's amazing how many messages I've had of just people saying sort of thanks for the videos. It's sort of nice just to see someone and have a talking point, even though you're not talking, between a character on a video and someone at home.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I got heavily back into railway modelling, which was during lockdown, it was something that came flooding back to me, and spent a lot of time on all of a sudden. It was interesting that there were sort of 3 channels that I watched more than any. Yourself, Everard Junction, which There's, but do you know what? I saw a picture of him not so long ago, and I thought he looks nothing like his voice. But great videos, and Chadwick as well. There is something quite endearing about Charlie, isn't there? And I remember an early video I saw where his wife comes in during the video with the washing and says, "Oh, sorry," and it's lovely that he leaves that sort of thing in his videos.
It's just the human touch, really, isn't it? And I think it's what we miss maybe from mainstream television these days.
Yeah,
it's just that sort of human element to these things.
Yeah, and do you do all your own filming and editing?
Yes, I know I look like I have a film crew behind the scenes, but no, it's all me. I do it all.
How crazy do you go in terms of equipment?
You'd be surprised. Everything I do is just on my mobile phone.
Ah, must be a good phone.
Film channels and some people filming with, amazing setups. Proper. Yeah. You could make a movie on it, on some of the things I see, but no, I've got to keep it simple, otherwise I won't be able to do it.
Yeah. And where did you learn all the editing side of things? Is that something that you had in your locker anyway, or have you self-taught on all of that? And the reason I'm asking that was I was particularly impressed with the video where we had two Richards.
Oh, where I gave myself a cup of tea.
Yes.
That was painful to do. To be fair, things like that is just about having a go, and I suppose I always try to do something different on each video, whether it's just myself trying a different effect or trying a different filming technique, etc. But way back, believe it or not, before I actually started working for a living, I wanted to be a stop motion animator.
Oh right.
One of my first films was this is a boring tidbit for you. I made a half an hour long video of the Titanic, but in Lego, doing in stop motion, and I did that for sixth form, and that was my first video project.
Crikey.
It's a bit nuts.
I'm not sure there were video cameras when I was in sixth form, so. Oh no, it's great to see what you've achieved with New Junction, but it does sort of lead to the question: where did the name come from?
I think it was just something. I wanted something snappy.
Yeah,
just sort of rolled off the tongue. I probably wasn't really thinking about it as much as I probably should have, knowing where it's gone now. And the original layout and the original scene was basically a Freightliner loco with a sort of permanent way team replacing a Junction. And that was sort of in homage to a friend of mine who at the time did just that. Because you think, what can I model in this corner? And I thought, I know I'll do. And it's an excuse to buy a new train and all this sort of stuff. And I just thought, well, what can I then call the layout? Because at the time, that was the only bit of scenery that was done. So I thought, it's a New Junction, so let's call it New Junction.
Fair enough. You can't say fairer than that at all. And that
was a long answer to a simple question. That wasn't
well, no, it's it's the kind of detail that I wanted. But I hate to ask this question, Richard, but who's the biggest star of your videos? Is it you or is it Lulu now?
Now, that decision has single-handedly probably been one of the best decisions that someone's ever made for me, and the worst. Because I can put together endless hours of model railway video, and all I'll get is, oh, where's Lulu, the dog? Oh. I'm sure I could just sit there and just film the dog for half an hour, and to be fair, it'd probably be one of my better videos, really. But
she's a lovely dog, though.
Yes.
Yeah, and it jumped out to me earlier because I was flicking through some of your videos, and there's one where Lulu's actually in the like the thumbnail image on YouTube, and the first comment on it is jump to, and then there's a timestamp to see Lulu. You'll thank me later. And I thought, no, I want to see all the rail stuff as well in the video, but but people will actually timestamp when Lulu pops up in the video now.
Oh, it's great. I've seen sort of emojis for her as well, and it's just, there's almost like a little fan club.
Ah, that's great. She deserves it though. She's a cracker. That's for sure. Normally at this juncture, I tend to fire off some quick fire questions as well. You will have heard this in the past, so I'm going to do that, and then we'll talk a little bit about where your inspiration comes from and things like that as well. So quick fire questions. Here we go. First one: DC or DCC?
DCC.
DC. That was a straight away 100% certain. When did you transfer?
I've only ever been DCC actually.
Oh wow. Okay.
When modelling properly, and I mean DCC opens so many doors with the addition of aftermarket sound files. Even we're playing with sort of smoke generators these days as well. It's just a different level of play value, and for someone who prefers playing trains to modelling them, it's just everything I wanted.
Very good. When we talk about locos, weathered or clean?
Oh, you see, that's a horrible one. I like weathered locos.
Yeah.
Would I weather my own? That's the one. Oh. So I've got to side with weathered.
Okay.
They look better.
And are you doing that yourself, or are you going to ask somebody else to do it for you?
I might have a go with an old wagon one day, but no, I do prefer when it's done to get someone who knows what they're doing, knows the right end of an airbrush from the other, to do it for me.
Are you an airbrush user, by the way?
I would be if I was doing any heavy weathering at all. I'd definitely say airbrush every time.
Yeah, it's still one of those things that I need to get myself into. I still use a brush far too often, but I really must go down that route. A quick fire that's a little bit more scenic related: static or scatter?
Static grass.
Yeah,
got to be. Although you say that, actually, the method I would choose these days is static grass, and in between the various levels or layers of static grass is to add in the mix of some scatter. It really makes a difference, I find. So,
yeah, you can really affect the colour variation quite nicely with a drop of scatter as well. And I've started using scatter a lot more on trees and bushes as well to bring out colour and flowers and things like that. So. Yeah, interesting. I already know the answer to this question. I don't even know why I wrote it down. West Coast or East Coast?
Oh, that's a tough one. No, it's got to be East Coast, obviously.
Diesel or electric?
Oh, dearie me. This is harder than I thought, being on the receiving end. I'm going to say electric.
Yeah? Is there any particular loco that sends you in that direction, or just a general feeling?
The one I have most nostalgia about is quite easily a Class 91, because when I was smaller, as I said earlier, I used to travel on them on the East Coast. So for whatever reason, they trigger something and it just takes me back. But yeah, probably first place is Class 91, and then the next 9 places of my top 10 are probably diesels. So a bit unfair, but yeah, I'd say electric.
Yeah, it's interesting because my absolute top of the list for me is an HST, and you know, because I do remember travelling on those quite some time ago when I was a kid, and yeah, there's just something about an HST. It's just such an iconic shape, but there we go. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your inspiration. So I think some of it obviously comes from trains that you travelled on when you were younger on the East Coast, by the sounds of it. But what got you into railways in the very, very first place?
It was a mix between that, because we lived in Newcastle upon Tyne, right up north, and the family lived in Leicestershire. And we used to travel down, and there'd always be a chance to pop into York. And I remember 2 things really have sort of inspired this hobby for me. One was always visiting York Railway Museum. And the irony is, it wasn't the trains that used to inspire me, it was the model railway they had, because they have that O-gauge thing that doesn't seem to have changed in 30 odd years. But I always remember just standing and staring at that while the parents went and had lunch in the cafe or restaurant. And the other one is my uncle Paul loves his trains, and he always had a double O-gauge layout, very classic layout in the loft. And every time we used to visit, I always used to pester. It'd be to go and see this loft layout. Yeah. It's a very traditional thing where you sort of You have to go up to the loft. You got a proper fold down ladder, and it was just very nostalgic and very classic model railway, as I say.
Yeah. And then that sort of prompted you to start building your own. Is that something that has always been supported at home? Do you get plenty of support with that?
I mean, it was never frowned upon. I mean, I remember when I was younger getting the Hornby Class 91 set, where you'd have the two coaches either end at both ends and then a siding. And that's as far as it got when I was younger. And then probably early teens, my Uncle Paul actually made me some baseboards for my bedroom. And I, attempted to build an N-gauge layout. So really my first model railway was N-gauge, not double O. But I think the early teens, it was a difficult hobby to sort of get into because you've got so much else going on in your life. You're sort of going into, at that point, I'd be going into secondary school, and you've got various different hobbies and things trying to keep up with the Joneses, as it were. But really, the hobby started for me when I was mid to late 20s, and I built New Junction.
Yeah,
and that was completely random because we were in a shopping centre in Leicester, and there was one of these gadget shops, and they had an offer on one of these Hornby sets. And I thought, for Christmas, I fancy one of them. I was going to run it on the floor around our flat at the time, and that was it. But of course, when you're that age, you're working full time. You can afford to build a proper model railway without needing too many permissions.
Exactly. And then I think I'm right in saying that New Junction 2 came about because you moved, didn't you?
Yeah, so we moved house. So originally New Junction was in the loft above a flat, and then with the excuse I had then was I'll never have a bigger loft, so I might as well build a model railway in it, knowing full well I'd have to move. And then now we've moved. New Junction 2 is the improved version, hopefully, being modular in a garage at the new house. So
being in a garage, that cause you any issues? I suppose I'm thinking sort of temperature wise and things like that. I mean, I know that a lot of people almost avoid their loft layouts across summer, especially the kind of summer that we had here, just insanely hot as it was. But what about being in a garage? How is it out there?
It's very similar to a loft. You still get all the spiders. I would say dare I say, it's probably slightly cooler, just because you're ground level and not above the house, as it were, with all the installation. However, in the new house, of course, I've built a O-gauge garden railway. So in the summer months, when it's, again, not blaring hot, you can sort of change tact almost and be outside playing trains as opposed to being inside. The cold in winter never really bothers me because, as we've touched upon, I'm built for winter. So it doesn't really bother me too much.
I'm built for the Arctic. Yeah. So, where do you go from here with New Junction? So you mentioned that you're just starting to build landforms and things like that. So, is it a full on scenic time now, or will you sort of dive in and out of other projects? Because I guess there's a lot of automation to come in there. There's buildings as well, and station areas. So what's the sort of plan of attack, or do you just go with the flow in terms of what you want to be working on at any given time?
I am an advocate of doing what you want because it is your hobby, as opposed to what you think should be done next. That said, I do like to rush ahead, probably too fast, and get to a point where I can play trains, because for me that's my favourite part of all of it. So I like to have the track done, whether it's done properly or not, that's another matter, wide up, just so I could go in the garage and turn it on and have trains running around. And then from then it'll be a flip between one project and the next. I think the next thing I really should do next is probably tackle point motors. and get it done now before I start going too crazy with the scenery, because I'll probably regret it later if I don't. The original New Junction didn't have point motors, you see, and it was all manual. But obviously, being a exhibition layout with maybe some automation coming along, it'd be nice to have working point motors and being able to set routes and things a bit easier.
And this is all going to be within the parameters of DCC, so it's not going to be a standalone points motor system or anything. It's all going to be integrated together.
Yes, all as simple as I can make it, because it's got to be, I suppose, understandable to me if it goes wrong. I mean, some of the layouts you see out there are absolutely amazing in terms of the technology that you can put on them, but I think you can probably get a bit too lost in chasing that technology, when I just want to sit there with a controller and just think, well, I want to change that point in front of me. I just want to press a button and do it.
Yeah.
And to get to that point as simply as possible.
And as somebody who obviously advocates DCC, and it was a very quick answer during the quickfire to DCC. What would you say to anyone who is fearful of going down the route of DCC?
I would probably say try and have a go with someone's DCC layout. I think it can feel like witchcraft to the uninitiated. However, if you take a typical analog layout, you've got an analog controller and two wires A and B going to the track. My original New Junction was DCC with a single wire and 2 points going to the track, where you'd wire up DCC and you'd wire up every piece of track and all this sort of stuff. I never did it with the original layout, and it worked fine. So it's not as scary as it may seem. There's lots of terminology which is quite confusing to someone, again, who doesn't quite understand it. Then I suppose going almost full circle, this is where something like the Great Electric Train Show helps, because you've got DCC layouts in multiple gauges with sound-fitted locos, smoke-fitted locos that you can physically have a go on, and you can stand there, and you're not worried about someone trying to sell you that loco, like in a shop or something, and you can sort of really relax into it and enjoy the experience, and maybe see if it is for you or not for you, because I think it's worth making that effort, because it's worth going DCC. But then maybe I'm biased, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. It's something I've never done. I've always stuck DC, but I think that sometimes it's just because I'm a little fearful of am I going to fully understand everything that I need to do. I'm quite a technical guy. I can build a computer and do all that kind of stuff, but I don't know, maybe there is just something there that makes DCC feel a little bit witchcrafty, to use your phrase. And I don't know whether it's sometimes how we put things across as a hobby. So I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about wiring up electrics in general, and anytime you find a guide or look for something online, it's still somehow written as if you already know everything there is to know about electronics, and I wonder if that does just put some people off.
It can do. I mean, it's one of those subjects that I don't think comes across written or spoken very easily, especially if you don't know what you're talking about. It's not something you could easily visualize, as opposed to some of, like, we're going to put ground scatter here or static grass here. It's sort of self-explanatory, whereas electrics can be a bit harder to understand. But then I suppose if you've seen some of my videos, I'm not adverse to getting someone else in to do the hard bit, because if it's not a hobby to do the electrics, for example, just ask a friend or ask someone at a club, or there's plenty of people out there who'll help.
And like
you say, a tea and a biscuit.
Well, yeah, and like you say, you have had some really good help with the new iteration of New Junction. I'm surprised you didn't call it New Junction. Just
I think
why not?
People do call it New Junction, but I think I'll have the Teletubbies after me.
I've forgotten about Nunu. Yes, very good, very good. So, where these people that have come to help you, is there anyone in particular you want to shout out to thank for what they've done to help with New Junction?
No, not really. I think I've done the hard work there.
Okay, good. Yep. Right, we'll move on then.
Same again. It's just, I mean, it's a positive for the hobby, really. I mean, and I suppose, dare I say it, through having the following on the channel, is you meet so many great people. And again, I like playing trains, and then other people like doing woodwork, or other people like doing electrics, things like that. So through the magazine, I've met Dan Everson of Tunnel Lane, who does dioramas and things, and he basically builds model railways for people on full, and he does that as his job. And he's helped me with my baseboards. And you've got John Gay, who's recently just done my soldering and things like that for me. It sounds like I don't do anything with my railway, doesn't it? But he's come down again for the price of a tea and a coffee and a biscuit, and just helped me get some of these more mundane tasks in my mind over that hurdle, and then I can concentrate on what I enjoy.
Yeah.
And I see that all the time, especially with club layouts. You get so much of a wide variety of people all helping each other out, and it's really nice to see. And it's a real, I suppose, good part of the hobby, if you like, is how people can come together. You probably wouldn't necessarily be acquaintances without the hobby, and just sort of work together to achieve usually something quite spectacular.
It's very true, actually, and I had a similar thought this weekend. So I've just got back from the Wigan Model Railway Show, which is a reasonably big show in its own right, and it's just fascinating seeing groups of people come together with a layout and displaying it for a weekend, and the way that they work together, not just in terms of setting it up and taking it back down again, but also in terms of how they actually run the layout across the weekend, and they put on a show for people, and it's fascinating to see the groups of people that come together to do that, and I think you're absolutely right. It is a great thing about our hobby.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, running an exhibition layout is a completely different hurdle then, because you've got to almost run a train timetable, because you're running almost a performance for people, paying public at that point. So your layout and your hard work is really under pressure then, because you've got to make sure everything works. So there's a lot of trust and hope that, I mean, the club has paid for you to be there, and then of course paying public are there to watch it. So you've got to keep trains running for 8 hours a day. It's quite intense, really. So there's a lot of respect going out to anyone who exhibits a layout.
Yeah, definitely. It's and I don't know what's harder in that respect: the people who run a huge layout, or those that are sat there running a very small shunting layout. I mean, that must be really tricky to keep performing with that for a whole day. So, yeah, much love to people who do that. Look, I want to touch on a slightly more tricky subject before we finish up, and that is, where do you feel the hobby is at the moment? What are the challenges that we face around the corner, and what are the overriding positives of where we're going as a hobby?
That's a good question, that is. I mean, I suppose I have these days, because I work within the industry, I have a bit more of an insight to some of the factors, maybe from an industry perspective, that are affecting it. You can't deny the cost of living is an issue currently. Coming out of the pandemic, there's a lot of concern about pricing. I think for the first time, the pricing factor, which will affect us all and affect buying habits of the hobby, is out of the control of the manufacturer, which is difficult, because then it leads to the manufacturer not being able to directly tackle it, or especially not in the short term. On a more positive note, though, because prices are going up, manufacturers are chasing more details and better products. So we're not just getting, or hopefully not all the time, old products just with an extra zero on the end. And we're getting new products which are offering something completely different better designing than we've ever had before, that kind of thing. I mean, it's quite incredible, really. You compare some of the stock that's coming out in, say, the next 6 to 12 months versus stock that was even available just 12 months, 24 months ago. The design features are changing all the time, and it's really good for the consumer in that breath, because people or the manufacturers are having to really chase for their custom. So that's a good thing. I just think hopefully the hobby can last as buying habits change, because I suppose we can't go out and just buy a train and a rake of stock these days so easily, because it's much more of a considered purchase.
Yeah. Do you think it's too expensive?
It feels expensive, which is telling, I think. I know from sort of talking to retail partners and things that they're noticing buying habits change. So that's obviously means that people are noticing it's getting expensive as well. However, I suppose manufacturers are doing runs and they're selling out before they've even landed. So where do you draw the line? I mean, I don't know, maybe other people are just earning more money than I am. Maybe I should go back to Mike and Mark at Hornby magazine and what's going on here? Is it just me?
Yeah, I obviously need to have a conversation about my wages with oh no, that's with
yourself.
Me. Yes. That one's not going to work very well, because I will say no to give myself a pay rise.
Yeah. But no, I suppose to try and keep that a bit more positive, it is very turbulent at the moment. But the one benefit I always say for when models are really expensive, brand new, is your own stock that you've got is worth more. So don't write it off as a old commodity or anything like that. Do look at sort of second-hand or flea markets, things like that, and trade in some old stock that's been sat there, because it's worth quite a lot and it's worth doing, and get yourself something new. You don't necessarily have to have a brand new product to be able to enjoy a bit of retail therapy in this hobby.
Yeah, and I think also, you know, when you use the word therapy as well, there is nothing better in tough times in life, whether that be due to the cost of living or you know, other challenges that people are facing at the moment. You know, there is nothing better than having a really good creative hobby like ours to keep you sane, really, as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, on similar sort of vein, there's nothing we like doing more than getting together as a group, whether that be online or in a club, getting the kettle on and just having a moan about something. And sometimes that can be enough just to sort of make us feel better.
It's a very British way of dealing with things as well, isn't it? A cup of tea and a moan, that'll put the world to rights.
It's great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just to come back to right where we started, Milton Keynes this weekend. What is the best thing about attending Gets?
Apart from being able to see your trade stand.
Thank you. Yes. Well, not just see it, but also spend at it. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Of course, yeah. With your extremely hiked prices now after that last snippet. But no, I think it's probably just the fact that it's a big show. It's right at the beginning of the modelling season as the weather turns. So it's usually well attended. We've got some amazing trade support. We've got some amazing manufacturer support. Lots of announcements for new shiny things. And of course, your last chance to see Making Tracks 2. And also in the same guise, you got to see the Hornby magazine layouts, which hopefully people have seen being built online.
Excellent. And Hornby are back this year as well, aren't they?
Oh, yes, for the first time, yes. Sorry, obviously Hornby magazine and Hornby are separate people.
Yes.
So the magazine licenses the name, but actual Hornby are coming back. So they've been not doing the circuit for some time now because of obvious reasons for the last 2 years. And yeah, they're actually back, which is great because you can shout at them in person now if you've got any.
Which, do you know what? There's a YouTube channel in itself, just the camera set up at the Hornby stand and capturing some of the conversations. What other manufacturers are there off the top of your head? And apologies if I am putting you right on the spot.
No, not at all. I mean, we've got Scale, you've got Dapol, for example, DCC Concepts, that kind of thing. Then I suppose you've got your big retailers who also have a bit of do their exclusives, such as Rails of Sheffield, TMC, that kind of thing.
Alice Clark, Hattons.
Alice Clark, of course, if you like your O gauge. I particularly like his O gauge Black 5. Actually, I've got my eye on that. I need to sort of wink and blink and.
He's got a cute dog as well.
Yes, I think he's called Alfie.
Yes, I think so. So yeah, there is an alliance there. Unfortunately, I don't have a dog, but I do have a particularly lovely cat. But yeah,
No one's perfect, don't worry.
Yeah. So, any chance of Lulu coming with you this weekend? You know, not that I don't want to meet you, but I'd love to meet Lulu.
Not this weekend, unfortunately. Although I have said that we need to try it. So when the layout finally goes out, Lulu will come with the layout if it's allowed.
Yeah.
And if she'll cope with it, of course, because it's might not be fair on her, but you know,
it should be overwhelmed.
Signing the autobiography and all that.
Oh, fantastic! Well, so you're heading down Friday morning. So you'll be there all Friday for setup, I assume.
Yeah, all day pretending to work.
And then Saturday, Sunday, you sit there operating the layout.
Yes. So I suppose what I do is I have to try not to take the fun from the guests too much, because my job is to basically hand out the controllers to people.
Great.
And on two of the layouts, and sort of say, look, have a go, run this layout so I can go and enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah. And I assume that also involves really trying to get younger folk enthused about the hobby as well, because let's face it, they're the future of our hobby.
Oh, absolutely. Younger folk, and I suppose like we were discussing earlier with the DCC thing, people who are a bit older who maybe want to try something new, because I suppose if you, just to go back to that, if you wanted to try a sound loco, like we've mentioned, that'd be a very expensive first purchase if you were to test the water. But this way, you get to sort of have a go and see if you think it's a load of old tosh or it's something worth investing in. But no, absolutely. And I will say one of the best things. This is a tangent for you. We went to the Statfold Barn Model Railway a couple of months ago, and you normally get sort of kids into model railways and things. And this kid handed me a piece of paper, and he'd done a Hornby magazine on A4 bits of paper folded up. And I'm thinking, blimey, that's an enthusiast right there. He's after my job, that is. That was great, I thought, blimey. He'd done his own little reviews and all sorts of his own models.
Fantastic.
That was great. It's better than my work.
Oh, dear. That's not a way to get your pay rise that you were asking for a minute ago.
No.
To say that a kid can scribble something better. Yeah. And do we know if Statfold Barn's happening again next year?
I believe it is. Don't quote me on that, but I believe it is. And if it will be, Hornby Magazine will be well involved with it.
Yeah.
We got on very well. That, of course, is put together by Joey and Tony French of Tony's Trains, actually, who's my local model railway shop. Shameless plug.
Very good, very good. Well, I'd like to be there if it does go ahead next year, because it is just about in the same county as me. I think it's just about in Staffordshire. So yeah, it would be great to head to. Listen, I think that just about wraps us up. We've been chatting for about an hour now, and I know you're incredibly busy with lots happening this week in the run up to Milton Keynes and everything like that. But I look forward to seeing you on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a great show. But more than anything, just want to say big thank you to you for coming on to RailPeople and having a chat.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me on and listening to me talk your ears off for an hour.
An absolute pleasure. Thank you, Richard, and please, on behalf of everyone, go and give Lulu a fuss.
I'll do it now.
Thanks a lot.